cage went in search of a bird, but now the bird is gone. The bird has changed. Now you can call me Alex.
Who is the main villain of Resident Evil 9? Is Alex Wesker actually back? Hey everybody, welcome back to another Resident Evil video, or more specifically, a Resident Evil 9 theory video before the inevitable release. Because when it comes to Resident Evil, always in their marketing, they do a bait and switch when it comes to the main villain. They've done it a lot with the previous Resident Evil games, like Resident Evil 7, focused a lot on the Bakers as the main villains of the game, with small hints of Evelyn in the marketing when you inevitably do play the game. While the Bakers are the antagonists or the obstacles, more or less, that you have to deal with, they aren't actually the main villain of the game. That's Evelyn. They do the same thing in Resident Evil 8, where they focus a lot in the marketing on Lady Dimitrescu and Chris Redfield, but when you do play the game, the actual main villain is Mother Miranda. With Resident Evil 9, they've done something very similar with Victor Gideon, where the majority of the marketing has been focusing on him as the main villain closer to the release of the game, and the most recent trailer does pull the rug beneath us and say, no, he's actually not the main villain. He's working for someone. While we do have a lot of different scenes going on in the trailer, we actually hear a lot of missable dialogue that does give us a good idea of what is going on. With these certain flashbacks and dialogue that we do see in the trailer, along with different hints that give us a good idea that either Oswald E. Spencer or Alex Wesker is the main overall villain of the game. Because in the trailer, Victor Gideon does state,
"Because my master made you who you are."
That line right there was very interesting to me. My master made you what you are. And the only time we've ever heard the term my master from someone in the Resident Evil series of games has been in Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 4 Remake and Resident Evil 8 Village. And when we hear that type of line from their minions, like we heard from Salazar and also the Big Cheese himself when referring to Sadler or the Plaga itself in Resident Evil 8, it was something very similar, where just like Resident Evil 4 before it, Mother Miranda has a very similar standing as the villain, where the four lords refer to her as Mother, or Mistress, or Master. Though RE8 is pretty much a copy of RE4 in first person, it does give us a good idea of something very similar, where there's a religious subtext when it comes to this idea. The person in charge usually has some type of godliness to them, to their subjects and henchmen. And with this game, the developers themselves did say they're taking influence from Greek mythology when it comes to certain elements of the story and some of the ideas that they are proposing. With that in mind, everything actually clicks in place, where we do get a good idea that maybe Alex Wesker is the overall godly figure and the main villain of the game, because she's managed to do what many others haven't really done before, that is to truly come back from death and be immortal, but to be fused with the T viruses to enhance your latent abilities and make you truly the perfect human, a god, which both Alex and Spencer have wanted for the longest time, and Albert actually proved that this was possible, dying from the tyrant and coming back. And with the later games with Mother Miranda, it is proven that Spencer not only knew about her, but also her research and the idea that the mold and megamycete can back up someone's mind and keep them alive mentally, which is something Alex Wesker is trying to do in Revelations with Alphelia. And depending on your ending, she is successful in this concept, where she manages to infiltrate another's body and take it over, which is a plotline that never gets a resolution in the Resident Evil series of games, and we honestly thought got retconned. Till now, when looking at this trailer, because there is a little girl that's in the same exact dress that Alphelia was wearing back then, but she has pure white hair and white eyes, which is very interesting, because that exact dress was the one that Alphelia was wearing in the original Revelations for most of the game. Looking at the brief flashback sequences, we see these experimented like girls that have their heads stapled open and they have red eyes, very similar to the red eyes Ophelia had at the end of the game being possessed by Alex Wesker, mainly being clones or maybe trying to replicate the idea of Albert's accident from Resident Evil 1. Looking closer at these little girls and these experiments, they looked very similar to Grace, but a lot younger, and that actually begs the question, is Grace actually Anessa's daughter, or is she another clone experiment that was a part of this process by Alex Wesker, where Anessa is a reporter and she could have taken pity and saved this girl experiment and basically raised her as her own, but that is the main reason why Alex is trying to get her back. Because of all the clones that she has made, Grace is the only one that was a true success, which would make sense. And when looking at the ideas of the story and all the different stuff, all the stars align for this making sense. With the goals of Alex Wesker from Revelations and where we left off, these all make sense. You actually think about it. Aligns very much with Alex's goals from the previous Revelations game and her trying to be immortal and make a perfect version of herself with powers similar to her brother. And maybe the reason for why Gideon is hunting down the survivors of Raccoon City is hunting for this exact clone child, which would explain a lot, along with Anessa's reactions in the early sequences of the game from what we do see, because she acts very suspicious and she's hiding things, and the way she is around Grace, it's very similar to how Mia Winters was portrayed in Resident Evil 7. With what I've talked about with Grace and connecting her to the original plotline of what Alex's goals were in Revelations and stuff like that, all this would make sense if she was the main villain. Also, Alex Wesker kinda does tie back to the original Revelations along with RE1 as well, being a core part of the original T-Virus team behind the scenes. So after all this rambling, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you think this theory is accurate, whether or not you agree or disagree, make sure to give this video a like if you did enjoy, or change it to a dislike if you didn't. That's perfectly fine. Make sure to subscribe if you are new, and check out some of the other videos on this channel, whether it's Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, Darksiders, Star Wars, or any other content under the sun. Have a good rest of your guys' night, morning, afternoon, or whatever it is for you in the world. Have a good Valentine's Day as of this recording. If it is released past Valentine's Day, hope you had a good one. Peace out. Bye-bye.